Hi all, this is Allmighty and welcome to this video. Today I have prepared you a game by the young Rameshbabu Praggnanandhaa playing against Luca Moroni Jr. It is also actually a suggestion from a subscriber, so thanks for that. But actually I was meaning to do a video on Pragu since yesterday. If you are in any way just following any chess news, you probably saw at least one tweet congratulating young Pragu here for winning his third and final GM norm and thus becoming a grandmaster. But not just that, it wouldn't be any special news, of course, because we have new grandmasters every day. But actually, young Pragu, by earning this GM norm, has become the second youngest after Sergei Karyakin in chess history to become a grandmaster. So it only took him 12 years, 10 months, and 13 days. So yeah, quite a short time. And actually, when I was thinking about it, it is quite similar to the I am actually myself playing chess for that time, so it's kind of a funny comparison. But yeah, I will admit that young Pragu is definitely a much bigger yeah talent, I would say, than me. But I'm really happy that I live in a day and age that we can see such a young grandmaster, and really hoping to see in the years to come him playing and everything. Here he was playing in Gredine Open. Today or yesterday it has finished with his final round. In the end, Pragu was second. The first was actually a Croatian chess player, so that is always nice to mention. Ivan Šarić, the current champion. But I will talk about Pragu because Pragu did steal the spotlight from Ivan there, and yeah, just because of this amazing achievement. And yeah, I decided to prepare this game after which he did win his GM norm with one round to spare. In the end, he also won his 9th round, having the rating performance over 2700. So just that in itself is an amazing result. But let's see this game. Playing against the young Italian grandmaster Luca Moroni Jr. He starts with e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and going for the Ruy Lopez with bishop to b5. So probably the most common opening you will see. And here young Italian grandmaster plays the Qxd defense. So continuing with knight to g2, e7, I probably have mentioned this a couple of times on my videos. The opening I really don't like to play against because I also played Ruy Lopez, and this crazy Qxd kind of limits me of actually capturing on c6 and going for that exchange variation. But I was really glad to see that Pragu played that with white, so I kind of analyzed it a bit and then actually got a few tips from him. Not got a few tips, but actually I learned a couple of stuff, and maybe something I will use in my future games, and I'll be more confident going about playing players in the Qxd defense. But okay, enough about me and my problems with the Qxd. Pragu continues with c3. g6, pretty standard stuff. Black tends to play bishop to g7, go kingside castle, and then tries to push f5 if it is possible. But let's see how Pragu plays against this. He plays d4, immediately going for the center. So pawn captures on d4, pawn captures on d4, and after bishop to g7, we see an immediate d5. So already white has picked up a lot of space in the center, and black needs to find a way how to actually challenge and play against this. So the knight is attacked, but first a6. And if you would go capture this knight, pawn captures on b5, and even if you capture on d7 or b7, in the end, black, as you can see, is already quite developed. He has a very nice open a file, even though he has double b pawns, a very strong bishop on this diagonal. He will go castles, and he doesn't have too much problems. And on the other hand, white still needs to develop. So here, Pragu, of course, he was prepared for this game, and he plays correctly bishop to e2. Knight to e5, the knight was attacked, knight captures, and bishop captures. And just continuing with the development, knight to c3. Here, two options, go castles or play d6. Here, black played d6, decided to open up the diagonal for the bishop. But as you can see, all of these squares are already covered by white. Bishop to d7 doesn't look like a good idea. So probably here black will be planning to go for f5 or a move such as that, something like that. But white goes for castles, and f5 is now severely limited, and really don't have time to play it because f4 is coming quite soon. And because of that, Moroni here decides to go on the other side of the board. He plays c5. But once again, young Pragg plays correctly. Pawn captures on c6, pawn captures on c6. Now creating 3 pawn islands. Kind of a messy structure for black. And now in the next move, completely dominating the position. Bishop to h6. The black king cannot go castle kingside, nor he can immediately go about attacking this bishop. On the other hand, the queen side is busted open. So what will you do? Black is, even though the material is equal, I think every player that looks at this position would much rather play white pieces here. And now just Pragg, okay, what Pragg needs to do, he needs to open up the position to attack the king, since the king is in the center. But for some reason here, black helps him and plays d5. And d5, I wouldn't say that it's the best of moves, because as I've said, it opens up the position. Here white could have gone for pawn captures on d5, but and earn a pawn in the end, but it does give black some chances, because here knight to f5 attacks the bishop, and when the bishop moves somewhere, for example on c1 back, because you don't really have too much squares for the bishop, pawn recaptures, knight captures and castles. Here black is doing okay. He is a pawn down, but now at least the king is safe and he can continue to play this game. So this is something that Pragg in the end didn't go for. He played queen to d3, so hoping to challenge the position this way. But I think that this was actually the last moment where black had a chance to go about maybe drawing this game, because after pawn captures on d4, if you don't want to exchange queens, queen has to capture on e4, but then you have this queen to d4. And the queen doesn't really have a good square to go to. You would have to either exchange it or play the rook on e1, for example. But still, after that, white is a bit more active, but doesn't have anything, let's say, immediate. So, okay, black does have a messed up pawns. You can play against that, but it's not like the immediate advantage that you need. If you move the queen, for example, queen to h4 is a threat, threatening to capture the bishop and also checkmate. So in the end, white will need to exchange queens. But black didn't go for this. He played bishop to e6. And now the rage continues. Or the rage starts, I would say. f4. Now the pawns are looking really dangerous. f5 is in the works, maybe capturing, and the pressure of the pawns in the center is really great. First queen to b6 with tempo, king to h1, like the only normal move, and now because of just simple pressure in the center, pawn captures on e4. But this allows knight coming on e4, and as you can see, when this bishop moves somewhere, this knight will come either on d6 or on f6. Okay, of course, not on f6, because you don't want to move the bishop from this diagonal, because knight to f6 is checkmate. So that is that. You have to keep the bishop on this diagonal, and the only square you can put him to is to d4. First we see rook to d8, attacking the queen, so queen has to move, queen to a3, keeping the queen here and also eyeing this d6 square. Bishop to d4, and now not playing knight to d6, because rook captures on d6 is possible with queen to d6, and now knight to f5, attacking the queen and the bishop. So in the end, here black will earn a piece and have 2 pieces for a rook and a much better position. So of course Pragg doesn't go for this. He has been working so hard for this position, so he doesn't want to give it all up. He plays the best move, which is bishop to g5. Now twice attacking and threatening checkmate. So have to do something about it, and here c5, just blocking the queen from this diagonal. But this allows knight to f6, bishop has to capture, because otherwise king to f8, bishop to h6 is checkmate, bishop to f6, and now once again you don't have time to go castle, because the knight on e7 is the problem. So that cozy knight from g to e7 is now a problem here, and I'm really glad when I saw that. Rook to g8 needs to be played, and now young Pragg could have played rook from a to c1 or rook from a to d1, which he played. Both of the moves go towards the winning game. I would say this is a more natural and more natural move to play. Exchange the rooks and then keep the tension here, because this rook is out of the game. The king cannot go out of this position. The d file is essentially, yeah, it is blocked by this rook. So you don't want to go for the pawns, you want to go for a better position. Since Praggu has been doing this from the start of the game with that bishop to h6. We see rook to d1 and rook to d1, still having these issues. And now you might think, okay, maybe you can move the bishop somewhere with the tempo and then attack the bishop on f6, which is undefended. For example, bishop to c4. But this is met with something like queen to a4, and this queen to a4 is a move that is always there. If you move the bishop, you're forcing the king to move to a dark square, then capture the knight with a tempo, and then recapture the bishop. Even queen to c6 is a victim to rook to d8, a move such as this one, because after king captures, queen can quite simply capture on c6. So that was an option, and here, because of that, knight did attack the bishop. And this bishop is an extremely strong piece, so you don't want to give it up, and you want to keep it on this diagonal. So bishop to h4 is played, and now king to f8. So here, young Luca probably thought that maybe he has a chance to escape with the king into the corner, but as you can see, these are dark squares in front of the king. These pawns are on light squares, and this bishop and in combination with this queen is quite dangerous, so not much luck there. And what Praggu needs to do, he definitely does, he opens up the position even more. First starting with bishop to f3, attacking twice this knight on d5. And of course, you cannot hope of going about capturing the pawn or anything, because rook to d8, queen to c3, the weaknesses on the dark squares are just too great. So here first queen to b5, maybe hoping that Praggu will capture first with the bishop and the rook, then queen to f1 is checkmate, but Praggu first, rook, bishop to d5, bishop to d5, and now queen to e3. And queen to e3, once again, the most natural move in the position, threatening queen to e7, with then checks either with the queen, capturing the bishop, but also keeping an eye on this g1 square. Because in some variations, if queen does manage to give a check, queen to g1 is always there. And here we have g5 played by black, bishop to g5, and g5 was played not to sacrifice the rook for the bishop, but to maybe try to force to open up the g file, having the rook here, the bishop here, and then the queen. And this is just what black tries to do, queen to c6, but this allows young Praggu to actually go for a win. Queen to e7, a forced win, and a win that brings you a GM norm, so why not take it? King has to go to g7, queen to e5, now check, and twice attacking the bishop, f6, attacking the bishop and the queen, but queen to d5, and you have to capture the queen, otherwise this bishop will go out and you will have a piece. So queen captures, rook captures, and now in the end, still you don't have time to actually play something like rook to e8, because bishop to h4, it covers the e1 square and checkmate. And if you move the rook somewhere, once again, the bishop will move and you will have that piece. So pawn captures, rook captures, and in this position, young Luca Moroni, Italian grandmaster, resigns the game, and young Praggu wins his third GM norm. Of course, after this, king has to move, for example, on f7, and after rooks are exchanged, you're in the end game where you have 2 pawns or more. So quite an easy win there, and both of the players know it. So yeah, this is pretty much it. Congratulations to young Praggu. This was an amazing game. I really liked when somebody bashes somebody in the cozy defense, because I really hate it. But of course, no bad feelings towards young Luca. Of course, he is well aware of young Praggu's amazing strength, amazing talent. So yeah, this is pretty much it for this video. If you have some other suggestions, of course, do please post them in the comments down below. I really enjoyed analyzing this game. Yeah, so that being said, I would like to thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time.